What's up guys, Marco here, welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to talk about chords. I'm going to show you how you can simplify any chord on the guitar. It could be major, minor, major 7, minor 7, odd 9, altered chord, dominant 7, dominant 9, whatever that is. It can be simplified, it can be made simple, but we need two things. The fingerpicking technique, so we have to be able to pluck the strings, because when you use strumming you can't really simplify things. You're brushing all the strings, you can't simplify the chords, so we gotta pluck the strings. And then we're gonna need another thing, which many of you are gonna hate me for this. I know that many of you are going to unsubscribe, but we need a little bit, just a little bit of fretboard knowledge. And what I mean by that is that you have to learn the notes. At least 5 frets, just 5 frets, okay? I'm not gonna make it difficult. I don't want you to unsubscribe, but just 5 frets, the first 5 frets, but not just 2 strings. You need all the 6 strings and you gotta know each single note, okay? I promise you will do that. So if you have these 2 things, you can simplify any chords. Now we're gonna have 2 different chord progressions. One is very simple, like classical. I took it from the Canon in D, very simple chord progression, but also really busy. You have a lot of chords. I'm gonna show you how to simplify that. And then we're going to kind of try a modern chord progression, which is a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to show you how to simplify this. Pretty simple, right? So we're going to take it step by step. Just get the tab, check my Patreon page, as well as, getting the tab, you also support this channel, and also subscribe to this channel if you want to keep up with all the upcoming lessons. Now, chord progression number 1, the Canon in D in E major. So the Canon in D, but we're playing in E major, so we make it a little bit more difficult, so that we can simplify things even better. And let's have a close-up. Let's get started. Now I took the first chord progression from the Canon in D. We're actually playing in E major. We have the chords E, B major, C sharp minor, G sharp minor, A, E, A, and the B major chord. Some of these chords can be pretty tricky, such as the C sharp minor, G sharp minor. The B major is a very difficult chord to play. So how can we simplify this? Now the step number 1 is that you want to play the root note of each chord. Okay, so just the root note. So the chord progression sound like this. So I'm playing E and E, which is on the fret 5 here on the B string, B and B, 2 and 4, C sharp, 4 and 2, G sharp, 4 and 1, A, fret number 2, back to the E, fret number 2, A and B. Now this approach is very, very simple. And it can be used in any other chord progression. For example, if I play A minor, C, D minor, and F and G, I could just play the root note for each chord. A, C, D, and F, G, and A. But we use the Canon in D just because it's a little bit more melodic. Now the second step, it's very simple. We're going to add the third of each chord. So we're still playing a simplified version of the chord. So the chord progression now sounds like this. So for the E major, I'm playing E and G sharp on the fret 4. A B major, the third is the D sharp, which is on the B string fret number 4. The C sharp minor, the E string open, which is the minor third, the G sharp minor, the B string, the note B, the minor third, the A major with the C sharp, the E major with the G sharp, back to the A, and back to the B. So as you can see, this approach is very, very simple. First of all, we know which note we are playing. And also allows you to visualize the chord in a different way. So rather than just play the same old E major, you can easily come up with a new shape such as this one, which is beautiful, it's fresh, it's new. You're learning the notes on the fretboard, and you also simplify the chords. Now, when you have such a simple chord progression, it's also easier to add, for example, a simple melody, because you know where the chords are. If you know where the scale is, you can easily come up with something like this. Now guys, obviously we don't want to digress and just start talking about melodies, but I just wanted to show you how simple it can be to add a melody if I know where the chords are. Because obviously I can add few notes around the chords, and so for the E major, I can play around the shape. B major, C sharp minor, and the G, A major, E major, A major, so guys, quick recap, we learned the chord progression, and then we started with the root note only. Then we added a third. Now the thing is, when you add the fifth, it's just the same as playing the full chord. And so some option can be easier to play, other option become a little bit more difficult. For example, if I play the E major, it's still pretty easy. 4, 5, and 4. The B major is definitely easier because I'm playing it like this. So I have 2, 4, 4, and 2. Root, root, third, and fifth. Rather than just play this difficult bar chord like this with 3 fingers, or with the bar chord butting with the third finger like this, I can just simplify the chords and just play one big bar and 2 frets only on fret 4. The C sharp minor, for example, become a little bit more difficult if we want to play just with the root, third, and fifth. It's still beautiful. It's a little bit more stretchy. 4, 1, 2, open. So you probably better off if you play like this. The G sharp minor, for example, very difficult chord. It's a bar chord on 6 strings, and then 4, 6, 6. You could play like this. Becomes very simple. 4, 4, and 4 on 3 on the third and the second string. A is very simple. E is very simple. A and B. So the main point here is that simplifying the chord progression by only playing root note and third is probably the best way, and also the most melodic way, to simplify a bunch of chords. So this is one approach. And then we also have another one with very difficult chords. Let me just show you how we can simplify more difficult chord, extended chords as well. Now guys, let's assume that the chord progression is way more difficult than just the simple Canon in D. We have a bunch of altered chord and extended chords. How do we simplify those? So if we have a chord progression such as this one, so guys, as you can see here, the chords are pretty busy. You got an E major 9, which is 7, 6, 8, 7. A major 7, which is 5, 6, 6, 5. And then we also have a D sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is 6, 7, 6, 7. A G sharp altered, This is a flat 13, which is 4, 4, 6, 4, 4, 5, 5. A C sharp minor 9, 4, 2, 4, 4. An F sharp 13, which is 2, 2, 3, and 4. A B sus 4, 2, 2, 2, 2. A D sus 5, 5, 5, 5, and back to the E. So how do we simplify those? One thing that I find really interesting is that for this approach, we don't necessarily have to analyze the chords. With the fingerpicking technique, you can just decide to play some of the strings. But for example, for the E major 9 and the A major 7, you could decide to play just the root note of the chord and another string. So rather than just play the whole thing, you could do. So in this example, I'm just playing all the chords, but just two strings. The root note of each chord plus the second string, for example. And so if you have the diagram in front of you and you have all these notes, just select the root note, the fret 7, and the fret 7 on the B string. Then for the A major 7 chord, you have a lot of notes here. So just play the root note, which is the 6th string fret 5, and then the B string fret 5. Then you have the D sharp minor 7 fret 5. So I'm only playing the root note and the B string. The G sharp flat 13. Same thing. Root note and B string. So I only have this. C sharp minor 9, 5th string and 2nd string. A13, only root note and B string. The sus chord. So this is more of a, simple approach because we don't even have to analyze the chords. You just learn the shape and you decide to play two strings. You could do 3 strings at some point.